Welcome once again to our ongoing YouTube video series on shareholders agreements and the rights of shareholders. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal, and in this particular YouTube video we will be discussing one of the aspects of a shotgun agreement in a shareholders agreement, and that is the problematic aspect of a shotgun where there is one party or one shareholder who has substantially more financial clout and financial backing than the other shareholder, and the two shareholders are not getting along so well, or alternatively, the business is going quite well and it's going dramatically well, but the one shareholder has concern with their fellow shareholder that that individual might be conniving and planning something. And why do I say this? I say this because there have been stories that I know through clients and through actual occurrences where people have attempted and often followed through on taking advantage of having the greater financial backing and financial advantage to take advantage of a shotgun clause in a shareholders agreement. And why is that? That is because when you look at your shareholders agreement, oftentimes the shareholders agreement provides for very tight defined timeframes within which the shotgun provision, once enacted, must be countered. And the way financing is, and the expectations of financing, it is often very difficult, if not impossible, to secure the necessary funds to offset a low ball pricing on a shotgun buyout effort. And this is particularly true where there is a company that is growing exponentially. One shareholder has substantial financial backing or has the ability to attain funds to facilitate a buyout, and the other shareholder potentially does not either have the sources or does not put themselves into a position where they can counter this action. So what happens? The one shareholder plans and plans and plans, gets information about the company, positions himself, gets some significant financial backers, and then proceeds to buy out the other, provide the buyout provision in the shotgun. The number that they provide might be, in all aspects based on evaluation, significant, but it is still a low ball relative to what the actual valuation would be. So let us say you have an exploding tech company. Technically, the valuation might be $10 million. However, it's still in that nascent phase where $10 million is still based on a lot of projections and optimism and opportunities. Meanwhile, the one shareholder makes his maneuvers early on in the process, has all the time he needs to do it behind the other shareholder's back, and secures financing for, let us say, $1.5 million, even $2 million. Now, technically the valuation should be at $5 million, but that's not how a shotgun works. A shotgun works based on the number that is put forward, and the other party needs to match it. And oftentimes you have a very short window. It could be 30 days, it could be 60 days. The other party has all the time they want in advance to position everything so that they can get the money, and it's only once they have the money locked and secure, and even more so at an inopportune time for the other shareholder, that they make the move, drop the notice on and say, you have your 30-day notice period, you have your 60-day notice period. $1.5 million or $2 million. Come up with the money or you're forced to sell me the shares. Yes, the shares are worth potentially $5 million, but it's not in a liquid market. And they have to go out and find somebody who can go and acquire those, support them, and buy in for that marginal number, which is very difficult for a small private company, especially for an individual who is working hard in the business and all of a sudden finds themselves, whoa, somebody's come along and said, you got to come up with $2 million, $1.5 million within 60 days, or else you lose everything you worked for. Irrespective of what the balances are, that's what the agreement you agreed upon is. And that individual, which hopefully is not you, but it could very well be you, will find yourself scrambling and possibly not being able to find the means to get $1.5 to $2 million that's in the shotgun. Even though it's a great opportunity, you got to find people who are there, who are willing to buy in at that price. And that means that individual could find themselves completely knocked out of the opportunity of all the work they've done for a lowball figure that could be represented, as in this example, almost a third of what their actual share value would be if there was a liquid market for it. And they have little recourse other than to find financing, which will be difficult in that short time period, or somebody to buy in, which again will be difficult to find. So, what do you do in that particular circumstance? Well, the thing you got to do is you got to be wary of the situation well in advance, because you need the timing and you need to structure your response should anything like this occur. So when there is that kind of, and oftentimes your fellow shareholder will have come out and made either outright or suggestive intonations of wanting to buy yourself out or wanting to acquire a greater share position or seeming elusive, speaking with bankers, having meetings that you're sort of curious about, right? So it's at that point you have to start considering. Naturally, I would strongly recommend engaging legal counsel on this, who's knowledgeable on what could be transpiring to help you in this planning process. But beyond that, you have to start taking the initiative and making the moves to position yourself in the event that your fellow shareholder, who's not really your fellow, but more so your potential adversary, is going to effectuate the shareholder buyout. So what do? You got to look at the shotgun provision in the shareholder agreement, see how it works, see what your timing is, see what your recourse is. That's the first step. Next step is to start planning. If you are going to be receiving a shotgun notice, how do you prepare for it? Well, you're going to need to get funds, and you got to position yourself so that you can count the funds, should they be necessary, are available to yourself. And that means there's one of two ways. First, bank financing. Second is going to be equity, getting somebody else who can put money in and come in as a replacement shareholder. So those are really your two options there. Now, bank financing is always tricky. But what you need to be doing then is, first of all, you want to be working with sort of an intermediary. An intermediary could be a corporate commercial lawyer like myself, or an accountant, who could step in and sort of engage on your behalf or initiate the process with bankers to start discussing with them and not really overly stating where you're at, but bringing them into a picture of, here's a business that I'm involved in. In the event that I need to be financed to effectuate a reverse of a shotgun notice and buy out my fellow shareholder, what are you willing to finance with respect to this particular business? You're not wanting to go all the way because you don't want to tip off your fellow shareholder as to what you are planning on doing, nor do you want to be locked in for a specific number because you don't really know what that number is going to be. You're going to try to get some idea as to what the number is and try to identify what your upper limit is. In addition to that, you want to position yourself so that you could do part bank financing and possibly another segment of equity, which is either coming from yourself and or other individuals who will come in as future, hopefully, minority shareholders who will support your position, your vision, and your continuance in the position you're in, if not a stronger position. So this brings us to the second group, and this is your future equity holders. So oftentimes people get into businesses with fellow business people. They don't have the kinds of relationships that go beyond business. And oftentimes, for whatever reason, people's lives divert and their personalities change. Or part of their personality, which they kept in abeyance until they saw this great pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that they wanted to secure primarily for themselves, and they want to pursue, they actually do pursue. And in so doing, they look to push you aside. So instead of that kind of individual, at this point in time, you want to be looking for people who either who see the vision of your business and want to be silent partners, or potentially could be active partners with a small minority stake, still being able to realize upon the ability to be with this high growth potential company that is all of a sudden providing an opportunity, should the opportunity arise based on the shotgun notice, that you would seek to reverse and turn over. Nevertheless, when you do this, you have to plan even with those individuals in advance, because you don't want to get out of bed with somebody who tried to screw you over and then get into bed with somebody else who is not going to live up to the expectations you want and potentially screw you over in another fashion going forward. So you want to start planning this whole process. And oftentimes you need people who will facilitate you getting into contact with these prospective investors, but equally important, screening them and making sure they're the right people and that you're not going to give them too much to bring them on board, because that's always a concern. Just because you want to retain part of your business, you don't necessarily want to give away everything in the business to these newcomers, especially when they want to undercut on how much they're investing in, when it is still yourself who has worked so hard to bring the business to this point, and you're going to be fronting either through financing and or your own money part of the buyout. And you do not want to have, where possible, ongoing and future disputes with these new shareholders. So once you've done that and you've lined up a means to bring in people, you can then confidently work forward and allow your business partner, who's not your fellow shareholder anymore because he's been maneuvering to try to get you out, to drop down his shotgun notice if he so desires. And all the while, you're sort of lying low, not being cautious in how you approach stuff, and try not to give any indications away that you've actually set up a plan and put together an arrangement so that in the event that the shotgun notice does come, and invariably it'll be at a pretty low valuation that is under the valuation the business would have assigned for your particular shares, you can then be in a position to just go and confirm, whether it's with your bank financing or other financing alone, or with your future equity shareholders who are going to come in, and your own finances, to flip it over and take a substantial increase by reversing the shotgun. At the same time, should your fellow shareholder decide that they're going to overvalue what you believe the valuation is, then the decision has to be made by yourself as to whether or not you want to sell. Because this might be an opportune time for you to sell and to step away from the business. But here again, you want to consider what restrictive covenants, including non-competition, non-solicitation, confidentiality, and others, that you might have to accept for a period of time when you step away. And is that worth it also? Or how do you deal with it? Either way, it's preparation in advance of a shotgun notice coming down and surprising you that will make a lot of difference in how you're able to move forward with your own particular investment in the business, with all the work that you have put into the business and the growth that you have seen it achieve, and that you see it being able to realize in the future. As such, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you engage appropriate and knowledgeable legal counsel in advance to work with them to plot out strategy, to plot out sources of funding for your actions, so that when the time comes, you don't find yourself flat-footed, but you can actually finance a reversal of the shotgun notice and still retain the company and potentially acquire the other share position with others at a fraction of the cost that it would be valued at, and thereby increase your own share position in the company so that this potentially will not happen to you again. We hope you have found this YouTube video informative. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Provide us with your comments and your thoughts. And also, if you're looking for paid legal services in this area or in any area of corporate business, please do not hesitate to contact ourselves, as our information is contained in the informational section that you will find below this YouTube video. Thank you.